The last thing we need to take care of is adding and subtracting rational expressions with opposite denominators. And this idea of opposite denominators has come up before. So that's where you have denominators like x minus 2 versus 2 minus x. They're almost the same, they differ by sign. So each term is present, it just has the opposite sign from one expression to the next. So polynomials are opposite if they differ only by the sign on each term. And then we also have to remember, we talked about this in a previous video, to obtain a common denominator, all we have to do is multiply the numerator and denominator by -1. So let's see what happens here. For example 5, it says find each sum or difference. That's great. That's easy. Okay. Looking at part A, I noticed right off the bat, my first denominator looks stupid. It's not in standard form. Okay. So what we can do is we can multiply that first expression by -1 over -1. And what happens there is I get -2, and then I'm going to distribute my -1 through the denominator, which gives me -3 plus x. Well, I could simplify that. I can make it look a little better. My -2 is just -2. I can't really do anything with that. But my denominator, if I put it in standard form, is now x minus 3. We like the way that looks, okay? So for this expression, we're going to rewrite it as -2 over x minus 3 plus 1 over, well, x squared minus 9 is the difference of squares. So that's where we have to take the square root of each of those terms, which would be the square root of x squared is x, the square root of 9 is 3. We add the square roots, we subtract the square roots, okay? So now we can go ahead and work on finding the LCD. And for this one, the LCD is fairly obvious, but if you don't see it, that's okay. We'll do the table. So we've got our first denominator, our second denominator, and our LCD. Those are the things you need. You need a row for each denominator and a row for your LCD. My first denominator is just x minus 3. That means the only thing that can go in that column is x minus 3's, okay? For my second denominator, I have an x plus 3. Well, that cannot go in the first column because it can only be an x minus 3, so I start a new column for my x plus 3. And then my x minus 3 factor, I can overlap. That can go in that first column. And then I bring down the representative from each column. And that becomes the LCD. So this is our LCD, okay? Now, as far as equivalent expressions are concerned, whoops, I want to make sure I can see everything. As far as equivalent expressions are concerned, we need to do a little work on the first expression. So we have -2 over x minus 3. What would I multiply x minus 3 to get the LCD? Well, the thing that's missing from the LCD in my first denominator is x plus 3. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by x plus 3. And let's see what that does for us. So I now have -2 times x plus 3 all over x plus 3x minus 3 plus 1 over x plus 3, x minus 3. So let's see, that's going to give me, when I simplify my numerators, I'm going to get -2x minus 6 plus 1 over x plus 3 times x minus 3. And we want to simplify our numerator, so the numerator is going to simplify as -2x minus 5 all over x plus 3 times x minus 3. And we would want to see if the numerator would factor, and in this case it won't. There's no GCF, there's nothing we can do to the numerator. So this right here would be our final answer. All right, looking at part B, hopefully you can see pretty quickly that the issue is going to be that middle expression, okay? So I have 2 over 2 minus x. I need to multiply top and bottom by -1. That's going to give me -2 over -2 plus x. When I distribute the -1 in the denominator, I get -1 times +2, that's -2. -1 times -x, that's +x. I want to rewrite it, and it's going to become -2 over x minus 2. I like that better already. So let me rewrite the full expression. We have 3 over x plus 2 plus -2 over x minus 2 minus 5 over x squared minus 4. Well, let's think about what x squared minus 4 is. It's the difference of squares, right? So we know that the difference of squares factors as the sum and difference of the square roots. Well, the square root of x squared is x, the square root of 4 is 2. So let's just rewrite this expression right here. as x plus 2, x minus 2. And if you need to do the LCD, you can. This one, I think the LCD is kind of obvious, but let's go ahead and do an LCD table. So we need a row for the first, the second, and the third denominators, and then a row for the LCD. So the first denominator is just x plus 2. Second denominator is x minus 2, so I need a new column. Third denominator has an x plus 2, which can overlap, and an x minus 2, which can overlap. I bring down the representative from each column, and that tells me that the LCD is x plus 2, x minus 2. And that's just going to be the LCD right there. So looking at the two or the three terms in the original expression, the third term is good. It already has the denominator as the LCD. The other two expressions need some help. So when I look at 3 over x plus 2, I would have to multiply the denominator by x minus 2 to get the LCD. When I look at negative 2 over x minus 2, I would have to multiply numerator and denominator by x plus 2. So let's see what we have. For the first term, we have 3 times x minus 2. For the second term, I have plus negative 2 times x plus 2. For the third term, I just have minus 5, and then all of that goes over the LCD of x plus 2, x minus 2. So let's see what we have here. So I need to distribute twice. One thing that I hope you all can see is this right here. When you add a negative, it just becomes minus. So I want to simplify that, and we're just going to say this is minus 2. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So we're adding a negative here, and when you add a negative, it just becomes subtraction. So let's go ahead and distribute. For the first distribution, we're going to do 3 times x minus 2. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Next, we do negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Drop down your minus 5. All of that's over the LCD. We want to simplify the numerator. So let's see, 3x minus 2x is just x. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. Minus 5 is negative 15. And then all of that is over x plus 2, x minus 2. And it looks to me like none of that's going to simplify. So this is your final answer right here. So there you have it. If you do find yourself in a situation where you have one of those denominators that is an opposite, it's fine. Just multiply the numerator and denominator by -1. Make sure you distribute where necessary. And that kind of takes care of that weird opposite denominator for you.